Hey, what's up, everybody? So, thank you for coming back to True Boxing here. Thank you for coming to get hit with the truth. Again, I'm here to give out the information. Boxing, I love it. Very passionate about it. It really pumps me up. And, I'm coming out with new videos all the time. This one is the What's Next on Undefeated, now former world title challenger Shavkat Rakhimov after his draw with Joseph Diaz Jr. when they fought on Saturday. I believe it was February 13th on DAZN. They main evented a DAZN card there. So we'll get into that in a second. Guys, if you like my page, give me a thumbs up. Thumbs down if you don't like it. I'm okay with that. I'd like to know the honest and true feedback. I'm not looking for brownie points and not looking for ass kissing here or nothing like that. Please tell me what you think. Tell me how you feel. Leave a comment. If you like my stuff, subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate it. So let's jump into Shavkat Rakhimov. So as we know, he fought Joseph Diaz Jr. in the main event of a DAZN card. Diaz came in way overweight, so he ended up making the second day weight, which is 10 pounds heavier. He couldn't weigh more than 10 pounds the next day for it to be a world title fight, an official world title fight for Rakhimov. So because Diaz missed weight and Rakhimov didn't, the title was on the line for Rakhimov, but it was not for Diaz. The fight went forward and actually ended up being a really good fight. It looked like Diaz hurt Rakhimov early, didn't put him down, but looked like he hurt him. And then Rakhimov towards rounds 3, 4, 5, and somewhat in the middle, really took over the fight. He really seemed like he was doing more and outworking Diaz. And then Diaz turned it into another gear towards rounds 9, 10, into the championship rounds, and really did well. So the fight came back a draw, which I think is fair. I would have liked to have seen Rakhimov get the win in this one for Diaz being so fucking undisciplined. But nonetheless, the fact that Rakhimov walked away with a draw, not a loss in this fight, I'm very happy about that. Because Diaz, when you come in overweight, nobody cares if you win that fight if you're overweight against your opponent. And I think he did a disservice and had an unfair advantage. So the fact that he didn't get the win, but Rakhimov didn't win, beating a guy who was overweight, I think kind of is fair. So, so the draw seemed right. So now what's next for Shavkat Rakhimov following that? Well, we already pretty much know. We can go. I'm going to run through the top 10, see what could be possible next, but we pretty much know already what he's doing in his next fight. So we might run through the top 10 and look at what could be after his next fight. But his next fight looks locked in stone. The IBF, and I applaud them, came out within, I think, 2 to 3 days, and guaranteed ordered Rakhimov versus the number 3 contender Kenichi Ogawa to fight for the vacant IBF title. So Rakhimov's getting another crack at the title. Diaz isn't. IBF, I applaud you guys. You guys are the shit. You guys are the least controversial of the 4 governing bodies. And I'm very happy you guys stuck to your guns and didn't reward Diaz because he's got a big name. So, so Rakhimov gets another crack at the title against Kenichi Ogawa. I'm sure he's going to be going in as the favorite into that fight. And I hope he becomes world champion, and I think he will. Now, granted, he wins. What could he be doing later on in the year after that? Well, depends on when this fight happens first. With COVID and everything, it was a pretty good action fight. So I'm thinking the earliest we're going to see Rakhimov back would be June, July area, at the very latest August. But does he even fight the remaining part of the year after that? And if he fights then against Ogawa, does he come back before the end of the year? Does he come back at the beginning of 2021? That's the big question here that I have. We know he has ties with the PBC, so I'm not 100% if he's going to be competing with them for sure the rest of the years. But, we can run through the top 10 and see what's up. So we start with Gervonta Davis at the top. Well, let's go with Oscar Valdez. He had that monster win over Miguel Berchelt. I don't think this fight's possible next later on in the year. It could be, if he becomes world champion and Valdez wants to fight another world champion, maybe. But I think around that point, we're going to see Valdez and Shakur Stevenson lining themselves up for possibly unifying belts. It's an easier fight to make for Top Rank. Those are both Top Rank guys. So I don't see Valdez looking at Shavkat Rakhimov. He'd probably be more of a high risk, low reward, not a big name, so why risk it type fight, But I definitely don't see that fight happening in 2021. Number 2 is Gervonta Davis. Um, could happen. This one is interesting because Davis fighting for the PBC and Rakhimov having ties with the PBC. This is a fight that if Rakhimov becomes world champion, it definitely would be possible towards the end of the year. I think Rakhimov would want the big name. I think he'd definitely be into it. And I think Davis would want to unify belts if Davis's plan is to stay at 130 or keep jumping back and forth between 130 and 135. So we'll see. It could be possible. Number three would be Miguel Berchelt, former champ. I don't see him doing that. I think Berchelt's going to have a little bit of a long road back towards a world title. And unless Rakhimov comes over and wants to fight Berchelt to top rank in ESPN, I don't see it happening. So I'm going to lean towards the no on this one. You got your Leo Santa Cruz's. I'm not seeing him and well, actually, this is a fight I think could happen if Santa Cruz decides to stay at 130. We don't know what he's going to do following that knockout loss to Davis. If he decides to stay at 130, yeah, I mean, why not? Like I said, Rakhimov has ties to the PBC. Santa Cruz is with the PBC. If Santa Cruz comes back and gets a win towards the middle of the year, and maybe towards the end of the year, first thing 2022, would they be interested in a fight against each other? I think it's possible. So yeah, I do think maybe Rakhimov and Santa Cruz could dance, leaning towards the no, but it still could happen. You got Carl Frampton, former two-division world champ. I don't see this one. I think Frampton's going to lose to Jamel Herring next, and that might be all she wrote for Frampton. So unless he fights a tough, close fight and then decides to link up with the PBC, which I don't see happening again, then I'm not seeing it. So I'm going to lean towards the no. Who else? God, I'm drawing a blank. I know we had Roger Gutierrez, a WBA regular champion. I don't see this one later in the year. I think Gutierrez is going to be throwing down with Alvarado, possibly with Joseph Diaz. I don't see him fighting Rakhimov. Rene Alvarado, not seeing it. Again, he's going to be throwing in with Golden Boy guys, and I don't see him doing this. Jamel Herring. I think Herring's going to beat Carl Frampton when they fight at the end of March, but then Herring's going to have to deal with Shakur Stevenson in a mandatory fight probably during the summer. So I don't think him and Herring could lock up because I don't think Herring's going to get past Stevenson. So doubt it late in the year. And then who else? That's Jamel Herring. And then you got Tevin Farmer. This one could be possible. If Farmer works his way back up the IBF rankings, maybe because it becomes the mandatory and Rakhimov doesn't have anything else to do, like can't get another big name in the ring towards the end of the year, I think he would fight Tevin Farmer. I think it's a winnable fight. It's a possibly a winnable fight. It'd be a competitive fight, and Farmer's somewhat of a name, so it could happen. Shakur Stevenson, no, I think Stevenson's got Herring lined up, the winner of Herring and Frampton lined up for the summer, and then possibly unifying belts with Oscar Valdez towards the end of the year, early into next year. So the earliest I think Stevenson and Rakhimov would be middle next year, and that's even if the promotions want to work with each other. Again, I'm not sure where Rakhimov is, if he still has ties with the PBC or if he's on his own now at all. I'm not 100%. And I think that pretty much rounds out the top 10 because I think I got Rakhimov tied with Stevenson. Off top of my head, I can't remember anybody else in the top 10, but Rakhimov has really has put himself in a major position to become a world champion and hopefully set up some big fights after that if he can beat Kenichi Ogawa. So that's it. That's the what's next on Shavkat Rakhimov, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. You've been hit with the truth.